Okay. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight as we roll out our responsible reopening plan for our remote learning 2.0. I want to thank everyone for your patience and grace as we continue to plan and prepare for the start of our new school year, especially with the changing guidance that we receive. I know as much as all of us want school to be normal, we know that it's going to take some time before we're there. So we'll share with you tonight the promise that we are making to our families regarding how remote learning will look different and how it will be more robust than it was in March when we were in emergency remote learning. Please know that we have listened to you. Our decisions have been made with input from teachers, staff, parents, administrators, and even students throughout the process. We've really been creative and thought outside the circle. Hold on. This session's being taped and will be available tomorrow for anyone who missed it, who would like to revisit it. Again, suggestion for anyone who's on the screen in the beginning, I'm going to make sure anyone who speaks tonight that they introduce themselves before they speak, because we do have several people who will share information throughout the presentation. So with that, all right, Mr. Draves, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Draves, the Assistant Superintendent of Schools for Berea City School District. Through our work, actually beginning way back in May, this was the goal that we developed through our committee to provide the best possible education during this pandemic for all of our students in grades pre-K through 12. And the two kind of main things were to make sure that we were providing the best education and that the health and safety of our students and staff would not be put at risk as a result of that. So this led to our guiding principles to try and, number one, provide in-person instruction for all attending students as much as possible. Of course, we were thrown a curveball with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health's recommendation to go to remote. At least that was the recommendation to begin. We wanted to be able to provide flexibility where we knew that we needed to be able to go between platforms because the COVID-19 pandemic was very unpredictable, and you never know where you were going to be or where you're going to find yourself with regards to the infection rate, specifically in Cuyahoga County. So we wanted to be able to have an in-person option, and we worked for months to try and provide that. And we also knew that we had to definitely prepare for a remote option as well. We learned in the spring that we had to be really prepared to accommodate our youngest learners, especially, and those with special needs, and our most at-risk students. And so we worked toward that end. We wanted to be prepared, as I said, be flexible and nimble, being able to go between platforms. Although, my mantra from the beginning has been we are going to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And we wanted to make sure that if we were in a remote learning period, that we would be prepared. And we put steps in place to make sure that if this did happen, that we would still be able to provide the best possible education to our students and not sacrifice their health. And we continue to follow what we developed our plans out, following the guidance of the Ohio Department of Health, the Ohio Department of Education, OHSAA, and the Cuyahoga County Board of Health, what was a major contributor, as I had said, in the guidance and recommendations that they had given us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Draves. The chart that you see on the screen now is one that we have shared time and time again, and we spent some time on this chart this week, kind of revising it to match all the different possibilities that we could be facing as we go through this pandemic. So again, this is the COVID advisory level system. It represents the initial data points in making the decision to be in school in person or remotely, but it's not the only data point that we use. I will also use additional local data from obviously from the Board of Health, the Governor's Office, and the Ohio Department of Health. So our main concern still from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health is the lack of testing that's available for pediatrics. And if that remains true, that puts our student, staff, and our families at risk for significant spread if we were to return in person. So if you look at the chart, if we go from obviously purple, that was something that we've shared all along, that the superintendents across the Cuyahoga County have agreed that if we're in level 4, purple, that we would all be remote learning. Obviously now with the recommendation from the Board of Health, We are in red currently as a county, and that they still do recommend that we stay within remote learning. We kind of put that across levels 2 with orange and all the way down to yellow. Again, just not knowing what the Board of Health will recommend. I know there's some talk right now that the county, as of Thursday, could turn orange. They focus a lot and talk a lot about even that you're in a certain level or color, that those numbers and that level has to be sustainable, that it has to be there for a period of time. So I made the recommendation to the board that we would be remote to start the school year, but I also included in that recommendation that we'll continue to look at the information, we'll continue to gather information from the Board of Health, and if we are able at any point to safely bring our students and our staff back, that we would look to do that earlier. I also made the point that if and when we were to make that decision, that would be a decision that would not be made. We can't make that change on a dime. So it would take us anywhere, I'm going to estimate, to be truthful and honest, between 2 to 3 weeks to get that turned around. And there are a lot of different things that go into that in making that happen. So we will continue to evaluate, and we will continue to present that information and share that information with our community and with our staff as we move forward. Next, just again, to start to get into our plan, some of the information, there is a document that you will find tomorrow in an email and then also on our website that's called the Responsible Reopening Remote Learning 2.0 document, and all of the information that we are presenting tonight is contained within that document. You're going to find that document, there's a lot more specific information in there that we're sharing tonight, but we're just trying to give you the overall picture of what the start of school is going to look like. So we have our staff, there's a lot to do, regardless if we were coming back in person or remote. And our first day of actual remote learning will be on Wednesday, September 9th. We'll be ready to go. We're going to spend, our staff comes back the week before for 5 days. And then Tuesday, September 8th, we needed that one extra day. And we'll talk about why that is in a second. All the supply lists are posted. And again, remember, that's for our elementary and our middle school, high school. There is no supply list. It'll be teachers, individual teachers, and what they recommend for their classes. And on those supply lists, we have pointed out the items that are most necessary right now during virtual learning. We, again, going back to a couple months ago, we had asked the board to support an additional purchase of Chromebooks for the district so that we were able to go one-to-one with all of our students K-12. And so a lot of kids right now have their Chromebooks from remote learning, from emergency remote learning in March. And so we'll have an additional distribution for students, and that will go anytime between August 31st and September 8th. We do have, we're waiting for the shipment. We'll just put it that way right now. But we do have a backup plan if that shipment of Chromebooks does not come in, so that every student does have some kind of a device to start remote learning on September 9th. And just to go back real quick on that, any of the information that we present tonight, all the detailed and specifics of that, of the Chromebook, of material pickup, book pickup, all of that, what I'm going to share right now with Open House, all of that information will be shared directly with families from their individual schools. So that will be forthcoming, those details. They've already worked those out, and that information will be pushed out to families very soon. So with regard to Open House and meet and greets, we're going to do some things a little differently. Again, with the pandemic, it's caused us to look at things in different ways. So again, I think what Mr. Draves talked about was our concern with our youngest learners. And so one of the things that we're going to do is that we are going to have in-person meet and greet for each of our students and families with their teachers in grades K-4. And again, you're going to get that information from your elementary buildings. It's going to be very specific. It's going to be one family at a time. Masks are going to be required. Physical distancing will be required. But a lot of what we're going to share there, and again, that'll be a time for families to pick up their materials. And it'll also give the teacher an opportunity to sit and kind of go through Blackboard and what that's going to look like for the student and for the parent to have some of that information so that there's a comfort level when we do start remote learning on September 9th. So with regards then to the middle school and high school, those are going to be virtual. Middle school is going to record their teacher meet and greet with each of their teachers, and families will be able to do that. That will be available as of September 3rd. And so families will be able to go on and at their own convenience and click through their teachers, their students' teachers, and the students will be able to watch it too. Get to meet the teacher, get to know some expectations. The high school is also going to do a virtual open house, and they are going to do it on September 3rd also, but that'll be live. And what they'll do is, again, Dr. Smithberger from the high school will push out a schedule as far as what that looks like, and families will be able to join the live virtual orientation and even have an opportunity to ask questions and interact with their teachers if they're able. Just also save the date, and I know this information has started already to come out from our web leaders and our link leaders at the high school and at the middle school about saving that date for August 28th, and there will be a virtual orientation for our 5th graders and our 9th graders. So again, a lot of this information tonight is higher level. You're going to get all those details from each of your building principals. All right, Mr. Graves.
We had one of the things that we need to emphasize is that remote learning is going to look a lot different than it did in the spring. You know, in order to be able to start that discussion, we refer to this, what happened in the spring was emergency remote learning. We had to turn on a dime. On March 13th, the governor shut the schools down for a few weeks. We prepared. We did the best that we could. We were really concerned. Mrs. Wheeler continually revisited the ideas of equity and access. We had no idea what kind of access our students had to computers and devices, if they had internet access at home. We certainly know that there's a different level of family support between families. These things were really, really concerning. And we were told we were going to be out for 3 weeks, and then we were told we were out for another month, and then we were told we were out for the rest of the year, and the target kept changing. So we've spent a lot of time making sure that our remote learning, as I said, we were going to hope for the best face-to-face, and we prepared for 2 months really, really hard for that, or the worst, go into remote learning. And we're going to try and make that, as I said, we revisit our goal, go back to provide the best possible education that we can. So we were preparing for the worst. And in that, we did some things like make sure that we could be one-to-one, kindergarten through 12th grade with devices, all the same device, a Chromebook. We wanted to make sure that our teachers were going to be prepared to teach in this remote environment. We went with a new learning management system with Blackboard for a common entry point for parents listening to what they had to say to us. So we had spent some time preparing for the worst, or remote learning, or whatever we had to do now. We were hoping for the best, and we put time into that as well. This fall, our students are going to be on a much more structured online learning experience, as you'll see when Mr. Marino goes over the schedules, with greater tools like Blackboard and the Google tools that we had developed in the spring with our staff. And the goal here is really to increase engagement, increase rigor, increase relevance, and we will not lose the importance of relationships. And we continually talk to our teachers about how do we make those relationships happen through these screens now, at least until we can get them back in our rooms. Learning is going to be an extension of the classrooms into our homes, we hope, and our students, in order to safely and effectively deliver the educational program, will do the best we can with the tools that we've developed over the past few months to be prepared for this. A lot of hard work put in to make sure that we're ready for remote learning, and it's not going to be perfect, but we will get our what we had said, our mantra is this year's about a growth mindset. We're going to be better tomorrow than we are today, and we'll continually improve.
All right, before we go to our next slide here, I want to say something. I had said earlier that We've made the promise that we'll, when we are able to bring our kids back, if it happens before the end of 9 weeks, that we would do that. Please, and I said it would take anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks to actually make that process happen. So just know that in that 2 to 3 week period, our students will still be learning. So even though we may be making the shift back to in-person, within that period of time where we're actually doing what we need to make that shift, our students will still all be in remote learning during that time until we're ready to make that full switch. I just want to make sure everyone knew that. All right, Mr. Blatnica.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Steve Blatnica. I'm a coordinator in academic affairs. What you see on the screen here is kind of a comparison. The graphic shows how remote learning will be different from how it was in the spring. So kind of going to be focusing on the right side of this graphic. So as you'll notice here, comparing the spring to our fall, teachers are going to be engaged with students in live instruction. And that's going to be a difference between what took place in the spring. There's going to be daily live interaction with their teachers. Teachers are going to, we built off of the experience of what worked and what may not have worked as well as we thought in the spring. So teachers are coming into this year with a pretty clear picture as to what needs to improve and what we can do better to make that live teaching improved this fall with purpose. Teachers and students and parents are going to utilize a common learning platform that you've heard already. Blackboard is going to allow all of our students to experience the content through a common platform. Google Classroom, which was used by a significant amount of teachers in the spring, will still be available. All of the Google tools that teachers have been utilizing for quite some time in the district will still be available. But all of our content is going to be delivered to students through Blackboard, so one common platform. Students are going to be accessing their curriculum just as they would be face-to-face. Students and teachers are going to be following a more daily schedule with more daily contact with teachers. And you'll see those schedules in a little bit. Students will be receiving letter grades. We are not going to be utilizing the pass-fail. We are going to be utilizing letter grades for their completion of their work and all of the assessments or assignments that are given. Student attendance will be taken on a daily basis. We'll talk a little bit more about how that will happen. And a communication line will absolutely be established to communicate attendance to families so that families are kept in the loop in terms of what type of engagement their students are having daily in class.
So Mr. Blatnica or Mr. Marino, before we go forward, there's a couple questions out there, and I think that fits very well right here with grades, and it may fit later with a slide, but someone wants to know, how will teachers give tests during remote learning?
Sure. So we have a student assessment platform called Illuminate. And so what teachers will be utilizing is Illuminate, and those assessments can be done on a locked browser so that the integrity of those assessments can be maintained, and we will be able to collect that assessment data through Illuminate.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. The final piece on this graphic, just kind of getting at the assessments, which we just kind of spoke about. Assessments are going to be utilized just as they are face-to-face. Students will be assessed on their mastery of their standards for their grade level. So assessment will definitely be a part of class as usual.
Well, hey everybody, my name is Adam Marino. I'm the new director of academic affairs. So nice to meet you if I haven't met or spoken to you yet. And what I'm going to be briefly talking about here is that we're obviously in a remote situation. All students are in remote learning, and here's some bullet points here that are the reasons why that we are starting everyone in a one remote cohort. And what that really does is it maximizes our resources because it mirrors, as you will soon see, it mirrors a traditional school schedule. So this will allow for small class sizes and more support per student. And there's a lot of things that we've considered when going into this as we're talking about it on a daily basis. And, we have to consider the possibility of staying remote all year as a possibility. Hopefully not, but we have to prepare for that situation. And if you remember, in July, there were some intent surveys in groups of students who wanted to go into what we call TVLA, and those students who want to go into a live, a live class. So, as best we can, we want to reduce that disruption and impact if and when we go back to in-person, face-to-face instruction. And the goal of all of this, to the right there, is we want to minimize that chance that students is going to have a different teacher. We know that relationships are important, and we want to have those relationships established throughout the year. So we're going to try our best to minimize that chance, but we still need to meet the needs of our families, students, and staff. And that is, in turn, that's what flexibility is. We know life changes, and our feelings have changed depending on the day, depending on the week, depending on the month. So we want to respect that from our families and our students and our staff, that our feelings might change, and we have to be flexible. So we will do the best that we can to meet the needs of our families, our students, while still minimizing that chance that a teacher change might occur. We don't want it to occur, but it is a possibility.
So in terms of daily schedules for students, you'll see those schedules shortly by grade levels. So you'll have a little bit clear understanding of what the day would look like for your students. So students are going to follow a daily schedule. You're going to see those schedules, like I said, in a minute. Their sessions or their schedule is going to consist of live sessions as well as on-demand learning. So kind of the difference there would be the live sessions. It will be the teacher in a remote platform using Blackboard, and the students would be able to join in at that time for a live session. And as you'll see, students would be kind of navigating through their daily schedule with daily contact with their teacher. If students aren't able to attend those daily sessions for whatever reason, they'll be on-demand content. So all of those sessions that are live, teachers would be making those available for students to watch and take advantage of asynchronously or on demand. So another feature of the daily schedule will be designated support time. And we know that remote learning is not face-to-face learning. We're going to try to replicate it as much as we possibly can. But to help with those gaps, there's going to be built-in daily support and help time for students to utilize, where the teacher will be available to provide that assistance. And also, we'll talk a little bit more about what Fridays will look like. But Friday is another additional support time where all students would have access to the teachers to provide what support they might need navigating through this remote world.
So as Steve mentioned, there is maybe some miscommunication or misunderstanding of what Fridays are. So Fridays will be a structured day for students. It will likely look very different than the Monday through Thursday schedule. So we are trying to anticipate obstacles in this new reality, and we want to be as proactive as we can to support students, to support families, to support staff. So this could be, this Friday day is helping with technical issues, reviewing content. There's a lot of things listed here. I won't get into details with, but it is certainly going to be a day that is going to be, there's going to be a lot of helping students. There's going to be, overcoming whatever learning obstacles that they have, understanding content. So their teachers are going to be engaged. They are going to be helping students, whether it's providing even enrichment or providing some intervention. But it will be a day where students are expected to still log in and get the information that they need in order for them to be successful.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lori Babinchek, the Director of Pupil Services for the district, and work with the preschool program as well. So what you see here is the first example of a sample schedule for the preschool level. This particular slide looks at the AM schedule. The next one has the PM or afternoon schedule. The components of each are the same. And for example, there's multiple different preschool options for days and times that your children would be attending, and the sessions that are scheduled will be held on that within that same structure. So for example, if you are signed up for a morning class on Thursdays and Fridays, your child's schedule will be fit within that 8:30 to 11:30 on Thursdays and Fridays. And you can see, as Mr. Blatnica had said, that the schedule is composed of live instruction. So live instruction is at a set time each day for the kids in preschool. And then there's also multiple opportunities for support for the kids one-on-one that would be scheduled, as well as if there's parent questions or parent support. You know, my child is struggling with the letter identification. Can you help us and lead us through this activity that was provided, and so on. So there's multiple opportunities for that. And then in addition to that, because we know that our little youngest learners and 3-4-year-olds may not be able to attend to a computer or device for a long extended period of time. And so what our preschool staff is going to do is they're going to have pre-recorded lessons that will focus on the early learning standards like science content, math, literacy, fine motor, and so on. And those will be recorded and available through Blackboard, and those will have flexibility. So families can utilize those when it's convenient for the family. So for example, it could be something that is put on and the child is doing it while mom or dad or family members are preparing for dinner. Or there could be a recorded story that one of the preschool teachers is reading to the kids, and that video could be accessed before bedtime or nap time. And there could be questions that go along with that to guide for the family, to guide the child through that reading. Additionally, there will be a choice board with activities and a variety of different areas, the play-based areas that will be included, and those will be opportunities for families to utilize those, again, with flexible time that works for your family schedule.
So before we go to Ms. Marina, hold on, before we go to a couple next slides on here, a question that came up, somebody asked, could you give a little more information on the flexibility part of the live sessions? Does this mean that if a parent is working and can't help the child get on and do the work until later, that the child can still get credit for time? So I think there's two different parts to that. One, Mr. Blatnica indicated that, again, different from what we did in the spring, that all of our teachers' synchronous instruction will be recorded. So that will give parents the opportunity anytime during the day to go back and watch that with their child, or their child to watch it on their own. And then in addition, I know Mr. Marino or Mr. Blatnica are going to talk in a minute too about attendance and what attendance looks like. And so, yes, you will be getting credit for that time, even if you log on at a different part of the day outside of the time that's actually in a child's schedule. So that's a really good question. Someone asked, and I'll answer this real quick, about if for open house at the elementary, the meet and greet, that says both my husband and I work, so both our parents will be switching on and off to help our son with his school day. Would we be allowed to bring them with us to the open house so we can all sit down and learn Blackboard? That's a really great question. We will push that out to our principals as they push the information out to parents. Just know that we do have to limit the number of people who are going to come in for open house, but we'll share this as a concern definitely with our elementary principals. Okay, Mr. Marino.
All right, so I'm going to attempt to give you an overview of all of the schedules through all the buildings, and there's going to be more details coming out from the specific buildings. And again, this is just an overview. So, we're going to go through some of these slides a little bit, maybe a little bit faster so you can see it and remember it. But I wanted to highlight some of the patterns of all of the schedules. So as I said earlier, you'll see that's Monday through Thursday, and then Friday we have a bunch of different things that are going to be occurring. And again, I don't want to emphasize that is going to be a structured day that students are expected to go on to Blackboard, and teachers will be on providing some intervention. And the details of that day are just a little bit different. But Monday through Thursday is the schedule there specifically. And what you'll see through all the elementary schools, the pattern of it's the start times at 8:30. There are 60-minute blocks of ELA and math. There's 45-minute specials. Lunch is around the same time for all the elementary schools, and then the content-specific items are generally over around 1:30. So that builds in some extra time at the end of the day, an extra hour or two at the end of the day to help with whatever help is needed to ensure that students understand the content the best that they can. So that is the same pattern through all the elementary schools as Tracy is slowly clicking through. When a first grader has math at Big Creek might be a little different than when a first grader has math at Grindstone and so on, but the structure remains the same with 8:30 start time, 60-minute blocks of core content, 45-minute specials, same lunch, end of the day looks about the same where it's built in time for some extra help at the end of the day. So just to also be a little bit more specific, within that 60 minutes of a day is going to look different, like any classroom looks different. It's not going to be one particular learning item in 60 minutes. No human or student, elementary student for that matter, can stay engaged on one particular item for 60 minutes. So the classroom is going to be broken up into multiple different modalities to help the students understand. So that is in general what the elementary schedule looks like. So going on to the middle school, again, this is an overview, and there's going to be more details as this schedule gets sent out. This is an overview for everyone to conceptually understand the day. So looking at fifth grade, they're logging in at 8 o'clock during their typical block 1. And one of the main reasons why the schedule is built this way is so if and when we come back to face-to-face, their block 1 as a fifth grader will remain block 1 if they come face-to-face. So that's true in middle and high school, maybe not exactly in elementary, but for middle and high school, that's the way that this schedule is built. So for fifth grade, you have your 8 o'clock start time. There's 15-minute classes, pretty consistent lunchtime, close to the elementary and the high school lunchtimes built in. And you have your end of the day, end of the day opportunity to help with whatever struggles that anyone is having. Sixth grade looks a little bit different. Sixth, seventh, and eighth actually looks a little bit different because they do have some more specials options built into the typical middle school day. So their core classes are reduced to 35-minute classes because they have more options and they have more classes through the day. But again, same structure: start time, end time, lunchtime is all the same through the middle school. And then moving on to the high school schedule. Again, it mirrors what if a student has a first period geometry class during remote, they're going to have first period geometry class if they come face to face. So the schedule very closely mirrors what would exactly look like. Besides maybe some times, it'll follow the same flow. So again, they have first period is starting at 7:45. You have 35-minute chunks of time for your instruction. Lunch, in the end of the day, you still have that structure to help in problem solve whatever needs to be solved to help everyone understand.
Okay, just a couple more questions. And team, if you're looking at this and there's anything, somebody asked, when will students get their schedules and teacher assignments? I think accidentally some of that got released today as we're making this new switch to the new system. I think there were some emails sent out today to families potentially with schedules and teacher information on there. We pulled that back. And if you did get that today, just please note there are still changes being made to schedules, to homerooms and things like that. And as soon as our system is fully integrated and updated, that information will go right back out to families. So we're trying to get that done as quickly as possible. Someone asked a question about if I am not comfortable attending the in-person day set for September 8th, what are my other options for learning how to use Blackboard? I know Mrs. Turner we're going to work on how-to videos. So there will be, and hopefully there will be just information out there for families that they'll be able to access for how-tos. And again, you're going to have lots of support. And I know Mrs. Bobenchek's going to talk about this too. You're going to have a person that you're going to be able to reach out to for help if you need that. And that's part of it. Anytime you're having a struggle through any of this process, you need to reach out and let someone know that. question is too, is if we talked about Chromebooks, and if their child already has a device at home, are they required to get a Chromebook from the district? And the answer to that is yes. It doesn't mean that you have to use that Chromebook at home, but the reason why you have to do that is because if we return in person, it's not bring your own device back to school. You're going to have to bring your Chromebook back to school. And I know Ms. Turner might be able to touch on that a little bit when she gets to her part. So the other part is too, what we found in the spring is when people were having difficulties with anything with their devices, we had people on all different platforms and devices. So for us, it is much easier for us to be able to problem solve someone's problem if everybody's working off of a Chromebook. So, and we have to be able to manage our Chromebooks. So that's where there are different things that can be managed from the district level, especially for testing. When testing comes about, that all students will have to have a district issued Chromebook. Another question is, somebody wants to confirm that remote education will last 9 weeks plus 2 to 3 weeks of transition time. Again, we're going to, whenever we know that we're going to come back. So if we do get to the end of 9 weeks and we say we can come back, we hope that we know enough in ahead of when we're going to return. I don't know that we're going to know that. So we could be 9 weeks and then 9 weeks say, okay, we still need to be in. But at the end of 9 weeks, we could say, oh, well, we can transition back and we would need that transition. So timing is going to be very, very interesting. But again, as best as we can determine when we think we'll be coming back, I know that's not the greatest of answers, that we anticipate it'll be that transition for 2 to 3 weeks. So it's really, there's just so much that's changing and ongoing right now with the virus that I don't know that we can give a definitive answer for that. Anything else on here? All right, so I think with that, we're going to go ahead with the next piece of information here. All righty.
Okay, we're going to kind of switch focus a little bit and talk about parent expectations as we move into remote learning in the fall. Just want to really make a really important note here is the difference between, again, the spring and the fall. We have always and will always rely on parents, but it's really important to understand that we are not asking you to take the lead in your child's education here. The teachers are assuming that role. And so we're not asking parents to be the teachers. Teachers are going to assume that role and they're going to work with your child daily. And that's the benefit of the schedules that you just saw is that we have time daily for your child and your students, to your child and your teachers to connect on a daily basis. But we do need parents in this partnership. And so we are asking parents, as you can see here, some key things that in order to be a partner, we want to make sure that parents understand that it will be incredibly helpful for our students to have a reliable internet connection and access to participate in their daily classes. We need your help to help with student engagement in classes. We know it's not always the easiest to have a child get up and get to school. It wasn't that easy when it was face-to-face, and it will be equally as challenging when we are remote again. But that'll be a really important role as a parent or a guardian to encourage your child to reach out to your teachers. They will have time built in to help, and they want to help. And so encourage your child to reach out on behalf of your child and ask for that assistance to set up some time to work on whatever barriers might exist. Communicating, again, instructional needs, academic concerns. Teachers will be reaching out to parents and guardians on a weekly basis to communicate engagement concerns. Are they seeing your child on the live sessions? If they're not, that communication line will exist. If they're engaging in the assignments in class, or if they're not engaging in the assignments in class, teachers will reach out and form that connection to make sure that clear line of communication is had. Tests, assessments will be done remotely. again, your help with making sure that that testing environment for the child is conducive to taking that test, that there's integrity in those tests as much as possible, and to stay informed on the course requirements and deadlines. Again, teachers are teachers, and they are the first line of educating your child or children. And so, but the partnership that exists between the parents and the teacher are just as important now as they were when we were face to face and when we go back face to face. So, if parents can help in those expectations, I think we're setting ourselves up for a successful start.
Okay, good evening. I'm Vicki Turner, and I'm the district's technology director. You've heard most of this already through the night, that our students will receive a district-issued Chromebook, and those will be distributed from the buildings. Hotspots will be provided to families based on need and availability, and that our students will be rostered in Blackboard Learn, which is our new LMS or learning management system. And one of the benefits of Blackboard is it is the oldest and most popular learning management system. It has been around for over 50 years. They have a lot of help and tutorials, plus we will create our own in-house tutorials. And the district is going to provide technical support via a new ticket system that we have in place just for our parents and families. So Tracy, if you go to the next slide.
All right. Just hope I do this right.
Yep, if you click on info, it should, or I can present.
I think it can. There we go. Is that good?
Not yet. You might have to change your tab that's presenting.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, there we go. There we go. So that first one that had the icons, I put those icons on there because Blackboard does have mobile apps that your child can get. So one of them is the one for students, the pencil, and then Collaborate, which is their version of video conferencing, can also be downloaded. And they do call it Blackboard Collaborate. That is their video conferencing tool. So the next one, all of the information in this little mini presentation is available on the district technology site. And if you notice on the left, there is Blackboard Learn and Collaborate. That's that information. Right below it, you will see Chromebook information. So information that you need, you can click into those different links. And you'll see at the very top, right under where it says technology, it says Parent Guardian Help Desk. That's where, and we'll put that link in multiple places. So you're able to access that. And it's a very nice, clean interface, easy to use. So any trouble you have with your device, your Chromebook, or issues you're having with Blackboard, you will be able to click there and we will be able to help you. These are just, again, there's links in here that you'll be able to access if you go to the district site. There's a login help document. All of our teachers will have that and they will be able to give that to students. And you will notice there is a district login for Blackboard. If you notice at the bottom, it says Google Apps for Education. So our students can just click on that and they will be able to sign on via their Google account. And that'll help with our younger students. Again, this is how that family help ticket system looks, and there is a link for that there, and you see that interface. You just submit a ticket. When you click on that, it's going to ask you what building you're in, and then it's going to take you to a page where you can fill out information. And then this is just a quick look when you go into a Blackboard. This happens to be my courses that I have in there, but if you look at the very top left, it says institution page. When you click on that page, when your child clicks on that page, we have a lot of student help videos and tutorials there. And then your child should see any class that they're enrolled in, and they will be able to click into that class, and then they'll be able to access all of the information that their teacher has for them. And then finally, here's just a quick look. These are Blackboard Learn tutorials just for students, and these are on YouTube. And so we have those available in links, and we'll share those, and teachers can share those. But you'll see they're very quick. They're 1 minute, 12 seconds, 59 minutes. So there is a lot of help available. Plus, we will be available to help too. And I do want to add that our teachers spent hours and days this summer giving up their summertime to start learning how to use Blackboard, and they're still attending a lot. We all had to learn virtually, so we're all learning virtually this new system, and all technology comes with glitches and issues and things that happen, but we will work through that. We anticipate that, and we will have a very nice platform to use for our instruction. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll talk about student expectations. At this point, we have, just as we were face-to-face, students are expected to follow their daily schedules and engage in their classes daily. So engagement, what does that look like? When we say a student needs to engage in their classes, so that could be as simple as showing up for live sessions daily. That's going to be really, really important for students to be in the habit of attending class just as they would when they were face-to-face, see their teacher daily, and whatever lesson or lessons the teachers have developed for the day, that the students it's there. And any discussions that take place during that live session, but that's not the only way that they can engage. It could also mean that students are watching on-demand lessons. So if a student is not present for a live session, that they would have access to those live, or they would have access to the on-demand sessions as well. And that's engaging too. Completing work that is assigned through Blackboard. And engagement looks like a lot of things in an online environment. Completion of homework assignments or completion of assignments through Blackboard, submitting their work using Blackboard, of course, according to the timelines that the teachers have established. That all counts as engagement, and those would be the expectations we would have for students moving forward. So not very different than what we would expect from students when we were face-to-face, when we go back to face-to-face. Grading and feedback is critical. Feedback is always critical, but more so now than even when we were face-to-face. So our daily schedules have been purposely designed so that that critical part of the learning process has built-in time. So we know how important it is for students to see their teachers. We also know how important it is for teachers to provide feedback to the students on their work, on whatever the topics are of the class for that day or that week. And we've got time built in during the day and during the weeks for that feedback process to occur. In terms of grades, students will earn grades, and students and parents will have access to current grades as always through Infinite Campus. Those grades will be updated consistently, no different than when we were face-to-face. Students at the high school will earn high school credit for courses by successfully completing the requirements for the course. Students will not earn credit if they do not complete successfully complete the requirements of the course. So they are, the grading system will mirror what the system was when we were face-to-face, more so than it did in the spring with pass-fail. To provide the most current report of student progress or student achievement, teachers will be expected to update grades on a weekly basis. Again, promoting that consistent connection between home and student, home and school needs to occur, and teachers, by keeping the line of communication open with the most updated performance of the students, achievement of the students, will be incredibly important to maintain on the remote schedule. Attendance and course completion. A little bit about attendance here. Students are expected to engage daily, and we've mentioned that multiple times this evening. Students will be attending classes, again, just as they were face-to-face in a remote environment. So teachers have the expectations to see their students every day. So students should have the expectation that they need to be in those sessions with their teachers. And if that's not possible, to engage in the on-demand lessons at a later point during that day. Daily attendance will be monitored. It will be based on the login records or reports into the Blackboard platform. So it would be expected that students would be navigating to Blackboard on a daily basis. That is, in fact, one of the ways in which we're going to track student attendance, not only through visibly seeing them in the sessions with the teachers, but also the timestamp of when they were on Blackboard for that day. So that would be Monday through Friday. The expectation would be for them to be on Blackboard, interacting with Blackboard. We will take those records of attendance on Blackboard, and that will be our daily attendance record. But not only just them logging into Blackboard, there will also be class engagement records kept by teachers so that teachers can communicate to families if a student is not engaging. They may be showing up on Blackboard, but they may not be engaging. So teachers will be reaching out to families to communicate engagement with the students. Are students getting work done? Are they showing up to live sessions? So that shouldn't be a surprise to families. So that line of communication will be critical. And the attendance and course completion, again, the daily reports will be generated by our attendance offices to identify those login information. Parents will receive contact, again, all calls or emails following the day of an absence, so that if students did not log into Blackboard, that information will be known. And so students will be, again, must be actively engaged in participating in the online courses, obviously with the goal of completing the course. And students will be expected to have all their coursework or classwork done during the normally scheduled quarters. So the time periods and the time frames for the quarters or trimesters still apply, and work must be completed within those time frames.
Okay, for students who have an IEP, just like they do when they're in the school buildings, they will all be assigned a case manager. And a case manager is that key person who is going to coordinate the services and supports the implementation of your child's IEP, and then communicating with the student and parents on a regular basis. The expectation is that the services and goals in the IEP will be implemented. And we're going to look at that through the lens of the sample schedules that you saw earlier. So basically, if I took that there's a block of language arts for 60 minutes and my child has a reading goal, the case manager is going to take a look at that and say, how can I go ahead and provide that instruction during that 60-minute reading block? So it might be that the live session, there's a break off after the teacher delivers some content to the entire group, that they might break off into different virtual breakout rooms, and your child may go in that breakout room with the case manager, the intervention specialist, and work on their specific IEP goal or reading supports and services there. Each case manager is going to go through every child that they have on their roster, go through their IEP and look at it through those lenses. What can be provided within that structure of the schedule for the entire school population, and then look at those and communicate with parents and students, like, this is what your day is going to look like, and this is when you'll get your reading instruction related to your IEP and so on. Accommodations would be delivered or provided in the same capacity. Now, we know that there's going to be pieces of an IEP that we say the service, it's not possible for us to deliver that service or work on that goal remotely. And in those situations, the case manager is going to specifically reach out earlier to families and have conversations about what that alternate delivery method is going to be for that child. So please know that there will be communication between your case manager and parents prior to instruction beginning. So before September 9th, your case manager will be reaching out and having that conversation so that we can work out any questions that you may be having in advance of that starting. Similarly, with students who have a 504 plan, they will also have a case manager, and in that case, it will be your child's school counselor, and they will work through all those accommodations. Again, your child would have access to. Now, some of those accommodations that we would traditionally see in a building may not be applicable or necessary in a remote setting. And so that will just be talking through that. For example, the child might need to be sitting up close to the teacher or close proximity to certain things. That's going to be controlled in the home environment. So that won't necessarily be something that we would provide from the school standpoint, because it would happen naturally in the different environment. Again, case managers will be reaching out to parents if your child has a 504 in advance of school instruction starting, to talk about those accommodations and what they will look like in the remote setting.
All right, thanks, Lori. Just to answer a couple questions right here. A parent asked, if students watch the recorded video instead of attending the live sessions, will they be marked as present? And the answer to that would be yes. Are students able to talk to teachers during Blackboard classroom sessions, or is it going to be a chat mode for communicating with teachers? So they will have multiple modes. So they can do it through chat. They'll be able to do it virtually when teachers allow them to speak. One of the things that the district has done also for all of our students that will be picked up, or when materials are picked up, is that we have purchased a whiteboard for every student to have at home. So that could be an interactive thing too, that teachers ask students, now's the time I want you to pull out your whiteboard. They can hold up a whiteboard, or, it could be for any time someone has a question or different things like that. Anybody else, if you see a question on here, is a good time. Someone asked about specials and how specials will work. And I think if you looked at the schedule on there, the schedule actually shows that kids are going to follow their schedule just like they would if they were in person. So their specials teachers will be teaching remotely, just like the regular core classes will be teaching. Someone asked, how will choir, band, and orchestra classes work remotely? They're going to have to get really creative, but our teachers have already started to work on some really good plans to make sure that they are still able to deliver instruction remotely, just as all of our other teachers are. Anything else in there right now? I'm going to hold on that one. So we'll go back to questions here in a little bit. All right. Lori, I think this is still you here.
Okay, so regarding the social and emotional needs, we know when we hear in the news and we experience at home that this is not an easy time for anybody, whether you're a little guy, a little preschooler, all the way up through the adults in the district and in our community. And so we really want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support those needs as well. And so one of the things that we are working on actively right now and is what we're going to call a Titan team. So basically every child throughout the district is going to be assigned to a Titan team, and that will be facilitated by a certified staff member throughout the district, most typically in their building. But basically our goal in that is to have a point person for that child, kind of like their go-to if they're experiencing something, need some support. That's not necessarily, it can be academic related, but doesn't have to be. And we wanted to take a building. So for example, if we have a building of 700 students and kind of make that, make that smaller by making a connection to that one point person. And so we will have them reach out, because it's going to be a point person for families as well as for students. And there's going to be a weekly, what we're going to call Titan Team Time. And that's going to be a scheduled time on Friday that all of our Titan teams across the district will meet just within their team, their small team, and kind of do a check-in. How are things going? What's going on in your world right now? Kind of sharing out with each other and just supporting each other through this different experience that we're all going through. The next thing to that is, in addition to kind of just creating that connection in the check-ins, we will have the next layer of support would be if children or students share something that they need, something that their need is greater than just a check-in on a weekly basis. We also have school counselors, school psychologists, and student family support specialists throughout the district that will be that next layer of support. And so if something's identified, we're going to have a structure in place of how that's communicated. So the next person that has a specific expertise or knowledge base can go ahead and step in and help that child, reach out to the family, connect them with community supports, whatever it is, so that we are also helping and doing what we can regarding the social and emotional needs for our kids and our families. For example, another piece that's going to be built in there will be like mini lessons. I kind of think about that as focusing on character, like resilience. What a great opportunity for us to model as adults how we can be resilient in these trying times, and how we can offer kids strategies of how they can be resilient during these times as well.
Okay, with our grab and go meals, our cafeterias are still going to be really hard at work providing lunch and breakfast for our students over the remote learning period. Over the summer, we still averaged about 450 lunch and breakfasts throughout the week. And it's important that our families who qualify for our free and reduced meals go ahead in and apply. The applications will go live on Friday. I just went in and checked the site, and it's in there and it's ready to go. So take advantage of that service. As I said, the applications, if you go to our website, go to the Department Services tab and click down to Nutrition Services. It'll be there for you. As I said, it goes live on Friday. The qualifications for free and reduced lunch are also there as well to see if your family might qualify for that. We know for our kiddos to be engaged and learning at school, they can't be hungry, and we will still be offering our free and reduced meals to our kids. More than likely, it'll look like one pickup for the week with 5 lunches and 5 breakfasts with the milk that goes with that. So to not inconvenience families to have to go up there every day, we'll probably try to get that so that you can stop up once during the week to be able to pick up those meals. We're also going to be pushing out some more information soon in the next district communication with regards to food and what that'll look like, the pickup times and the locations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Draves. So we're kind of at the end of this, and we wanted to try to keep this to an hour to be respectful of everyone's time. So some of the next steps. So we have provided you with probably an overwhelming amount of information tonight. And so, as I had said to you when we started, that we do have a detailed plan of all the information that we put out tonight, and it is on the website already, and we will be pushing it out tomorrow also in an email. And so it is called the Responsible Reopening Remote Learning 2.0 Plan. And why we did that is because there's another plan that is also going to be released, and we hope to have that on the website also. I think everybody needs to remember when the recommendation came from the Board of Health, we were moving in another direction. So when that recommendation came out that schools needed to start in remote learning, we had to kind of stop, restart, do what we needed to do for remote learning. But we also know we still have to be prepared for the next piece of what can happen when we return to in-person learning. So there's going to be 2 documents. The one, as I just said, the remote learning plan Responsible Reopening Remote Learning Plan 2.0. And then the other document is going to be the Responsibly Reopening In-Person TVLA Plan. And you'll see that we're ready. If we have to, as far as our plans and our protocols and what our expectations are for cleaning and disinfecting and visitors to the building, no visitors to the building, all of that, we have all of that ready to go. So there's one little piece that we are finalizing. And by the time we send the email out tomorrow, the follow-up from tonight's presentation to all families tomorrow, we will have that document completed and ready to go also. So you're going to find two different documents, but the one you really need to be worried about right now is the one that focuses on the Remote 2.0 learning plan. Again, as I had said, you're going to all start to receive detailed information from your buildings, either via a phone call or an email or both from our building principals. So if you have not yet, it's so important right now to make sure that we have all of your most recent and updated contact information. That's cell phone, that's email, all of your most recent information needs to be updated in the Infinite Campus annual update. So many of you have already done that. We've got about 40% of our families who have done that. We've got the other 60% who have not done that yet. Again, we'll add that information to the community letter that goes out tomorrow if you can't remember how to do that. Just a reminder, I've already had some people ask, like, what about Final Forms? We have to update Final Forms too, and you do not. We're only doing updates in Infinite Campus this year. The only people who have to do any kind of updates or information in Final Forms are those student athletes. And I know Mr. Howard and Mr. Adams have already put that information out to families. Again, tonight we've got a lot of questions that people have asked, and we've actually done a pretty good job of answering everything on here. We'll also put out an FAQ that has your questions and answers that we answered tonight, and the ones that we didn't get to answer, we will add those to the FAQ, and you can visit that. So again, email tomorrow is going to come out. We'll have the link to this presentation. So if you had a neighbor or friend who couldn't see it, this presentation is recorded. There'll be a link to the presentation. There'll be the two documents, the Responsible Restart documents in there. We also will have a survey from Nutrition Services, again, to try to gauge how many families would still want breakfast or lunch while we're out, and what that's going to look a little different this time than it has over the summer. Again, your annual update information, and we're also pushing out a wellness survey just to try to ask families, how are you doing, and what do you need? And I know Mrs. Bobencheck has a social emotional team that she has assembled, and they're really looking forward to seeing the information that they get from that survey so that we know how better we can prepare to help our families as we start to engage in remote learning. One of the things I just need to remind everyone of is that any questions that you have, the best way to get any of your questions answered right now is to email your building administrators directly. A lot of people still reach out to me directly, and the specific questions that you're asking are really specific to your building. So make sure that if you have those questions, reach out directly to your building administrator. So I just want to end tonight again. I know that this is a really difficult time for a lot of people, and we do understand that. And I truly know that the decision that was made to go with remote learning a couple weeks ago was not welcome and favored by everyone. But then there were a lot of people who were very happy with the fact that we're going to start out remotely. So I'm very, very confident in knowing that together we're going to get through this. And we need to find ways to come together as a community and not push against each other, because in the end, it does none of us any good. I want you to know that there are better days ahead of us. And in the meantime, all I ask everyone is to be kind to each other, be there for each other, and always be a Titan. So thank you for joining us tonight. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out to your buildings if you have any questions. Thank you.